And so now it's
go through it if you want to. It comes with
breaks down to four things.
Massive responsibility. Sometimes
I've broken it down into parenting,
choose not to have, and that's fine.
Technology,
that's fine. But if someone chooses,
and environment,
that is a
let's talk about parenting first.
They would like to become
too many millennials
then they have
grown up
they will or need to go through a transition.
Subject to what has been described as a failed parenting strategy.
That's it. Right?
Too many of them were told as they were growing up that they were special, that they can have whatever they want just because they want it.
If you're good at your job,
they got medals for coming in last. They got participation medals.
To a position,
right? And the science on this is already good. We know that it devalues the feeling that somebody who works hard and comes in first place, and it actually makes the person who comes in last embarrassed because they know they don't deserve it. So it actually makes them feel worse. It actually doesn't help.
And so there
are a lot of kids who got into honors classes, not because they deserved it, but because their parents complained.
Nobody showed them
and they got A's not because they earned them, but because the teachers didn't want to deal with the parents.
Of course they tell you to do it their way, because they actually do know how to do it.
Then those kids graduate and they go to and they start a job, and in an instant they find out that they're not special.
No longer responsible.
That you don't get anything just because you want it.
We now become responsible.
You get nothing for coming in last, and your parents cannot help you get a promotion.
Around who's responsible for the results.
And in an instant, their entire self-image is completely shattered.
CEOs and I'm like,
in an instant, the way they view themselves is completely changed, turned on its head. And so what you find is that there's an entire generation growing up with lower self-esteem than previous generations.
What you can
remember, they have grown up in an Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat world in which they are very, very good at putting filters on everything. They're very, very good at curating how they want to be seen.
Who are responsible for the people.
And we think they're full of confidence. They seem to have knowledge.
That is. Any company where it is standard practice for people to feel the need to keep a full
that elation comes from a chemical in our body called
just in case they
dopamine,
need it, you know?
Right? Now, other substances, other things that release dopamine
away from doing their job in order to protect themselves from their
gambling. That's what makes us feel good when we engage with those things, and it's the root of a lot of addiction. In fact, almost every alcoholic on the planet discovered alcohol when they were teenagers. You see, when we're very, very young, the only approval we need is approval from our parents. And then as we go through adolescence, we now crave the approval of our peers. Very frustrating for our parents, very important for us. It allows us to acculturate outside of our immediate families into the larger tribe. Very, very important, right? It's a time of high stress and high anxiety, and we're supposed to learn to rely on our friends.
And I had an experience.
Some people, quite by accident, discover alcohol and the numbing effects of dopamine to help them cope with the stress, and that becomes hardwired, and then for the rest of their lives, when they suffer some kind of extreme stress, they don't turn to a person, they turn to the bottle. Right? Now, we also know that dopamine is released with cell phones and social media.
And I asked
him, so that bing, buzz, flash, and beep that we get from our phones that feels so good, it releases dopamine. We like getting it. Yes, we all hate all the emails, but we love the bing. Right? We've all been in this position. You know, you're feeling a little bit down, you're feeling a little bit sorry, maybe feeling a little bit sad. And so what do? We send out 10 texts to 10 friends. Hi, hi. And we hope that they write back because it feels good. Right? So now we have a young generation with basically unfettered access to social media and cell phones. We have age restrictions on alcohol, we have age restrictions on smoking, and we have age restrictions on gambling. We have no age restrictions on this other dopamine-producing device called social media or cell phones. It's the equivalent of throwing open the liquor cabinet and telling our young adolescents, I know this is a stressful time, try the vodka, it'll get you through these hard times. That's basically what we're doing. And so what's happening is it's becoming hardwired, where our young generation isn't learning the coping skills and coping mechanisms to turn to another human being when they're struggling or stressed. They're turning to social media or their cell phones. Their self-worth sometimes becomes wrapped up in how many likes they get. They obsessively check how many likes, and actually will get depressed if they don't get any. You see them going out with their friends, and instead of visual environment, which sends a subconscious message to everybody else in the room that this is not that important to me. You're not that important to me. And by the way, putting your phone upside down is not more polite.
Who really don't have a lot of charisma. They kind of just...
This is my favorite one, where the phone rings in the middle of a dinner, in the middle of a lunch, in the middle of a meeting, and somebody goes,
and people will give blood.
I'm not going to answer it. Oh my God, just
thing
so
I am comfortable
magnanimous.
saying that all effective leaders must have.
Right?
is
Thank you.
courage.
Right?
Because it is
Put it away, keep it away, because what it
hard
does
to
is it
stand up
actually
against
hurts our ability to relate to each other. Now you look at young kids these days,
is
they're on them
hard
all the
to
time. I
stand up
don't blame them.
an
It
external
is
constituency who's pushing
addiction.
you to do something
We yell and scream
for
at
their
them, but
short-term gain.
it's like yelling and screaming at an alcoholic.
Hard.
It doesn't help the fact that it's a chemical addiction. Right? So you take an insecure generation that now, through no fault of their own, struggles to cope with stress. They don't know how to cope with and deal with stress. And as they have told me, many of them will admit that they struggle to form deep, meaningful relationships. They will admit that many of their friendships are superficial.
Courage is not some deep internal
Right?
fortitude.
That their friends they know would cancel on them if they get a better plan, that they wouldn't really know who to talk to if they get depressed.
Our courage
And maybe
comes
they'll
from
turn to
the
an online support group, which is not a real thing. Give me an example. And we have to learn to rely on our friends. And that skill is desperately lacking.
But they'll often save your life.
So you add in the next one, impatience. This generation is often accused of being entitled. And if you've worked with any of them before, sure seems that way.
Negative feelings about your own.
But I would argue that
your own future.
we're misreading the
Someone
tea
who
leaves.
says, I love you.
They're not entitled.
And
They're
I will follow
impatient.
you no matter what.
Again, let's practice
I wanna
empathy.
talk about that.
How did they
Why do
grow
you
up? They
think
grew up in a world of instant
something so
gratification.
neat, so
You want to buy something, you go on Amazon, it shows up the next day. You want to watch a
so,
movie, you
like,
don't check movie
just
times, you just
yesterday,
log on
I
and
think
download it whenever you want to watch
actually
it.
true, I'm not
Stream
making
it,
this up.
right?
Just
You want to watch a
yesterday,
TV show,
listening
you don't
to
wait
you
week
guys,
to
I
week to
looked
week.
Ron
You
Penn
just
in his
binge
eyes,
watch
I
for the
said, "I love
weekend.
you."
In fact, if
And
you
I
want to get
said
hold
it
of somebody, you don't leave a message on their machine and wait 4 hours for them to get the message and call you back. You just text them and they'll call you, they'll get back to you literally instantaneously. Heck, if you want to go on a date, you don't even have to be like, hey, you just swipe right. You got a date.
And it's so interesting that it becomes
Never learned the skill set of like,
because like
what are you
at home with my
doing,
wife,
right?
It's so easy, and I love to embody it, and I love to feel it. It makes me feel
You can have
awesome.
4 dates in a
But then
night.
I come into the office and there's
In other words,
something
everything
about
comes
the
instantaneously.
that
They
makes
have
it weird.
falsely applied the instant gratification model
This is what vulnerability
to
is.
life fulfillment
Being
and
vulnerable
career
doesn't
fulfillment.
mean-
They want it all instantaneously. The
Being
problem is
vulnerable
life,
means willing to admit
relationships,
Being
career
vulnerable
are
is
not
willing to
destinations
say, "I
like,
need help."
look, I found the job I love.
Being
That's not how it
vulnerable
works.
is the
It's not
willingness
a
to
scavenger
express the feelings you
hunt.
have towards someone.
I'm looking for the job that will. No, it doesn't
fear
work that way. It's a journey. It's the same with love. It's like, I found love.
And
No, you
most
didn't. You work
people,
hard
especially if they
every
don't have
single
trusted
day
people,
to stay in love.
corporate culture, most people don't
It's
want
a
to be
journey.
vulnerable. It's
It's as if they're standing at the foot of a mountain. They know exactly what they want. They can see the summit. What they don't see is the mountain. I talked to some recent college grads who are in their entry-level jobs on a regular basis, and I'll ask them things like, how's it going?
But for the
And they'll
fact that
say,
it's more
yeah,
stressful and ultimately the
I think
results
I'm
will
going to
falter,
quit.
right?
I'm like, why?
It's
They're
counterintuitive.
like,
But
I'm
that's
not
what,
making
that's
an
what a strong
impact.
environment means.
I'm
It
like,
means
I know you've
can
been
be
here
vulnerable.
8
So
months,
the fact
right?
that you can say that out loud.
And this is the problem. They
means
see it
that
as
there's a
destination. I'm not
love and
making an
trusting
impact. I hear it all the
culture
time. But they don't
that
even
is
know what
okay
that
with you
means, impact.
being vulnerable.
Yes, we all want to
Nobody's
make an
thinking,
impact.
"Oh
What
my
kind of
God,
impact?
this company's
What do you want to do?
going
How do you want to
downhill.
contribute to
This
the world?
guy's
This is what
nuts.
vision is. This is what why is.
He's
It's
blubbering
become
all over
generic
the
and
place, you know?
abstract.
That's not
But
what
the problem
people
is
think. I mean,
they're
some people
wafting
have it.
around